Hello and welcome everybody to Marketing Rapid Fire episode 14. I am so excited to be doing these episodes again, and this time we've got a very special lineup of four YC entrepreneurs who are all doing such cool things. Really excited to host this episode, and I just checked the attendees list. A lot of you are new over here. So before I give the mic over to the speakers, I'll just quickly give you an intro of what you're going to be seeing today. So this is India's first quiz show for marketers, and now we have founders here. So we'll change that to founders for this episode. It's very, very straightforward. We're going to go through 12 questions, and as promised, this is going to be no gyan. So they're only going to have a minute to answer each question and a buzzer that will ring exactly at the minute mark. That being said, I'm sure there are going to be lots of insights. We're going to be talking about YC, we're going to be talking about branding and online presence, and a lot of learnings I'm sure that you can extract from here. Before I start blabbering a lot about marketing rapid fire, I would love for you guys to take a minute and introduce yourselves. Ashish, if you want to go first, would love to know what your journey's been like and a little bit about you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vanshika, for inviting me here. I'm one of the co-founder of My Petrol Pump. We are building an on-demand fuel delivery service for India. We have been in existence for almost 3 years, and we were lucky enough to get to IC last year, along with Sambhav and other 200 founders across the globe. Yeah, so our journey has been quite exciting in the sense we are trying to build something very unprecedented, something brand new in the context of India that would solve potential problems of inconvenience, fuel pilferage, and help us prepare to serve the demand better. Yeah, I have two other co-founders, but there was only one person could join this call, so here. Uh,
That's
but uh, but yeah, it's a team effort and very excited to build my.
welcome on board.
To love to share our experience.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Divyanshu, do you want to go next?
Sure, yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Divyanshu. I'm the co-founder of Tag Mango. We're building a monetization tool that helps creators monetize their follower base by providing them subscription paid communities or like one-time services. Um, Patreon for India, if you're aware of Patreon, essentially. I'm also a digital creator. Got a decent following online with respect to the content that I share. Along with that, I've got a co-founder called Mohammed Hassan, who is a kick-ass guy, and he essentially uh, he's my boss, and he's the product guy in the company. Along with that, I went to YC this year, along with this star Ratin Shah, co-founder CEO of Spenny, and he was also my roommate. This is a very very quick introduction. I think you'll get to know more of my thought process during the whole. Thank you so much for inviting me, Vanshika, as well.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Ratan, tell us about yourself and about Spenny.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for inviting us, Vanshika, and thanks, guys, for joining this session. So I'm Ratin. I'm the co-founder of Spenny. So at Spenny, we are basically trying to build one of the easy and fast ways to start savings and investments. So the way it works is that every time you sort of make any transaction, we round that up to the nearest 10 rupees. We round up the amount of the transaction to the nearest 10 rupees, and we invest it for you automatically into sort of a diversified portfolio. So for people who have no idea about where to begin savings or investments, we are building a sort of a product for them. So yeah, that's about Spenny. Building it with my amazing co-founder Gaurav, who, as Ashish said, only one of us can join the call, so been here, but he's sort of the brilliant product mind behind the entire product. So yeah, so he's with Gaurav got an opportunity to go to YC this year. As Divyanshu mentioned, Divyanshu and I were sort of in the same batch. In fact, fun fact, we shared a house as well in San Francisco. I had a brilliant time there. So yeah, let's have a brilliant time at this session as well.
Awesome. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for the intro. Sambhav, tell us about yourself. Tell us about family.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vanshika, for inviting all of us. Really excited to be here. So yeah, I'm Sambhav. I'm the co-founder of AmPay, and we're building a neobank for teenagers. So essentially, all the banking services, all the payment services, all the financial services, if we talk about, are being built for adults, and no one is focusing on the kids who are 18 and below, who are tech savvy, who have internet, who have smartphones, who are transacting online on Swiggy, Flipkart, Amazon, everywhere, but have no access to it, right? So we are aiming at a financial inclusion of the teenage market, and that's what we're building. Both me and my co-founder Kush, we were batchmates from IIT Roorkee. We graduated last year to start this, and we're part of the YC batch with Ashish. And yeah, we also share a lot of memories back there in the days. So
That's all awesome. Yeah, you guys are like such a tight knit family. It's awesome to have all of you here together. I think when I was introducing all of you on the group, you're like, wait, I know him and I know him. And I'm like, this is great. So, quickly, let's get started. All right. So, the first section, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have a lot of questions about this section, but I've tried to kind of find the best questions that I could. The first section is definitely going to be about YC and entrepreneurship. We're going to go alphabetical for the first 6 questions. So, Ashish, question out to you. When did the entrepreneurship bug bite you, and how did you know that this was your calling?
Yeah, good question. So I'm a little old person here among the group, and I spent about 9 years before starting my petrol pump. I was working for Shell 9 years. I lived in 6 countries, and I've traveled more than 40 countries across the
Wow.
globe. Probably most of the countries that you may have known, I've been there. And the life was pretty chill, so to say, and life was getting too comfortable at my age, and wanted to build something, and wanted to build something that I could be proud of before I retire. So just decided to move on from a boring corporate life, and came back to India to start my petrol pump. I had a couple of ideas. One of the idea was my petrol pump, and there was a great opportunity in terms of the market is actually big in India and solving real pain points, and that excited me to sort of start with my petrol pump. And
Got
yeah,
it. Oh, the buzzer just rang as well. Oops, it's a little soft. I want to turn up the volume. All right. Divyanshu, go for it.
Well, when did the entrepreneurship bug hit me? So my background, I come from a traditional like Marwadi business, and I've always seen entrepreneurship from the very beginning. I've seen my dad building businesses, like from a traditional like Marwadi family, and right from I think school time, I have been extremely entrepreneurial in terms of at least accessing all kinds of opportunities and taking that through. But the first venture that I essentially did was in college. It was a venture called Wake Up Kid. There we were. It was more of a social entrepreneurial venture. We were figuring out like entrepreneurial solutions for social problems. Also building a volunteering donation tech platform back then. And that was the first time I really got a taste of entrepreneurship. I was in like second year of college, and then right from there until today, I graduated in 2017. I've just been working on different things and going with the flow. And then the content game came up, and in 2019, Tag Mango came across. So that's how the entire journey has been till now. And I think it's still biting me. I think it's still biting me. For a
Awesome.
long way to go there. Yeah, that's
Awesome. Awesome. Ratan, go for it.
Yeah. So the first time the bug bit me was when I was in my seventh standard school. We have this thing called fun fairs where students put up stalls, and like me and my friends decided to put up a stall where we sold like puffs and coke, and we just like for some reason like we marketed it in such a way that our stall reaped the highest amount of profit, and oh, it was so much fun. Like we were so small, we didn't know what we were doing, but that sort of I think I got that bug there. And then the first serious attempt was in my college. First year of my college, decided to build something completely out of my zone. I should not have even attempted to do it. We built something called Rent. So something what Rent the Runway is basically
Mm.
hiring high end designer clothes for your occasions, that kind of stuff. Very bad business. Made mistakes literally in every step of the way, but we had so much fun, and I think that's when I decided I want to pursue entrepreneurship.
Wow, that was very well timed. Sambhav, go for it. You're muted.
Yeah, so I think I absolutely did not know I wanted to get into entrepreneurship until I actually started this. So it has we started this when we were still in college, and it had always been about problem solving, about real problems that we wanted to solve. So even during college, me and we built a product called Appetizer, which was meant to digitize the whole messing systems at IIT, and it's currently being used by all 8,000 students.
Wow.
Absolutely, like before pandemic, of course. So you can see the menu of each of the messes, right? That aaj khane mein kya hai. If I want to skip the meal, I can skip it directly on the app, and I get rebate for it. I get money back for what I don't eat.
Wow.
So it was always about problem solving, and when we were discussing this problem, I think we both were equally passionate. Ki let's solve this. Let's build a product. We did not know what we are getting into by building a product or solving a problem. So ultimately, it became a startup. We started getting into it, and it has been amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Very
If
well
if
done.
I'm
Okay.
allowed to add a little more, do we have time for?
Yeah, go for it quickly. Yes.
Yeah, so like my entrepreneurship also, like I did not know when I was like kid. So this is a real story. I was, I think, in like first or second standards, like 5 years old or something. And I remember during my time, there used to be this person with the bioscope, with 5, 6 holes, and the kids would pay 25 paisa to just watch. He will like rotate, and he will show Taj Mahal and so many other photos. And then I was bored of watching the same content, and a lot of kids did not like. So people stopped. Most of my friend kids, like same age, they stopped like wasting money on you know, looking and watching at this inside this bioscope. So at that time, I realized that like kids were like I was also a kid, so I wanted to build something which we all of us liked it. So what I did, I built a bioscope, and how I built it, I built it. I had a shoe box. My father's a shoe box, so basically that cotton box, and I pulled together like last 1 year of newspaper and all the best photo that kids like. Okay, what I liked it also, like all cartoon photos or something, and I put together a roll. I glue them, fixed from two sides with a hole, and I will basically rotate. Basically, I made
Wow.
a wheel, and I charge 50 paisa to each kid to show. That was the first time, like I really made something that like my customer wanted, or like,
So
and I
sweet.
earned almost 5, 6 rupees every week. So I used to make a new roll every week. I will just find all these rubbish old
Awesome.
magazines and everything. And this business ran really good. At that time, I had a good
I like
friend.
how you call it a business.
It ran for almost half a year
Right.
before my parents moved to unfortunately new location, and then my whole business went down. But
Awesome.
that
Very
was my very
interesting.
first entrepreneurship journey. At that time, I did not know, and after that, then schooling pressure and
Yeah.
everything came in.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, cool. Next question is from Karan Kishaporia. He asks, what are the most important skills you believe early stage founders need to have to be successful? So, Ashish, if you can give us two or three and give us an example of how that skill really plays out in your day to day, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's a secret recipe. Yeah, so it depends upon like how you're starting it and at which stage you're starting, and what kind of experience or background the team is bringing in, right? I think if I were to just comment upon a couple of common things that those are really required. One of the thing is like if you're starting with the team, then you have to have utmost trust among your team. Then you
Totally.
guys really believe in each other's vision and capabilities. That is the most important, because if you don't have, then things may fall apart anytime. Okay, so that is something that is required. The second thing, if I were to say, is like you need to know like no, before you do anything, you need to know whether you building people will like it or not. So there's no harm in just bringing this idea or very this early stage product to the customer. in the sense like just bouncing it with the people. Like, hey, I'm doing this. A lot of times, a lot of entrepreneurs, they just hide away their idea. Oh, it's a fantastic idea. I don't want to share it until, I raise fund or I build the product. No, that might be too late. So always bounce it with at least 50, 60 people that this is what you're building and see the validation.
Very
That
interesting.
is very
Divyanshu?
Okay, so it's important to like define who an early stage founder is. I think I would rather call myself an early stage founder pre YC rather than post YC, because life was extremely different in both those standards, and I think it will be more relevant for the person also to understand pre YC what the situation was. I think one, it's extremely important as a founder to be very frugal, especially when you're non-funded, and having that skill set कि पैसे कहाँ पे बचा के you can be extremely conservative
Yeah.
and be very careful with that is the smartest thing a founder even right now can do, but at that stage it's even more important. Second, I think having like co-founders with multiple skill sets that like in terms of the technical side really work extremely well, that can complement each other. So that happened for me and Hassan. We had really complementing skill sets right from the beginning at an early stage. That helped. And last, I think the most important thing is like have perseverance. I mean, that's the only thing. It's not a skill. It's a life trait. You have to be like, you have to have grit, and you have to like wake up every day and just go after it every single day. That's like the most important thing for any early stage founder. Yeah, over to you.
Wonderfully said. Wonderful. Ratan?
I'm going to go with two things: speed to execution and resourcefulness. I'll cover both of these. Speed to execution, because I genuinely believe that ideas don't matter. Yeah, सबके पास ideas होते हैं. मतलब you are not the only Einstein. सबके पास ideas होते हैं. And by the way, ideas keep changing. The only thing that really matters is that idea है उसके बाद तुमने कितने time में execute कर दिया. Because that's what separates the doers from the talkers, and I believe that that's like a separating point. Second thing would be resourcefulness. Change your mindset from how do I do this, as in change your mindset from can I do this to how do I do this. Basically, you have to do this. Figure out a way. Like कुछ हाथ पैर मारो कुछ भी करो, just figure out a way. And I think if you combine these two, I think you should be off the charts already as an early stage founder.
Got it. Got it. Very well explained. Sambhav? I think you're muted again.
Yeah, sorry for that. I think most of them covered all the points, from having a complementary co-founder to experimenting fast, speed to execution. I think apart from that, a couple of things that are important. First is clarity of thought, not just for an early stage founder, but eventually for any founder at any stage, right? You need to have clarity of thought in everything that you do. That do you want to build this product? Do you want to execute this growth strategy? Do you want to hire a potential person? Do you want to invest so much money in growth, etc., right? And second thing is conviction in what you're doing. As an early stage founder, definitely no one will have a similar mindset. So you'll find half of the people who don't believe in the idea, who will be badgering you down, like, okay, this won't work. This is not a like high potential idea or whatever. So you need to have conviction at that point, like, okay, no, I'm building this. I know this has potential because no one else knows better than the founder who has been researching on the idea for long.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you. Awesome. So this is a nice personal question, gives us a little bit of insight into you guys as well. So Ashish, tell us, where do you go to learn about entrepreneurship and how to do this cool thing that everybody is just like very fascinated with? So where do you go to learn?
Well, I don't know if there is one place to go and learn about entrepreneurship. It's from your inside. It's like you have to have a passion for doing something. You have to have a strong conviction for doing something, and which means like you believe in basically yourself first before before you believe in others. On anything that you start, not just in entrepreneurship, but basically anything you do in your personal life are also very small entrepreneurship journey. A lot of decisions that you take even in your personal life, these are also like entrepreneurship
Yeah.
driven sort of things.
Awesome.
So you learn it
As you go.
as we go. And yeah, I mean, if you're lucky along the way while you're building something, finding some good mentors and mentors who have the right skills, who can guide you in the right direction, that would be
Hmm.
really good. And
Yeah.
Y Combinator has been like one of the great, so to say, mentor, in the sense like these guys have shared a lot of experience, and especially it's a founder driven community. So when we spend 3 months there, we get to meet a lot of successful founders who have gone through this journey. They share the experience, their
Awesome.
learnings,
Yeah.
success, failures, and
Awesome. I also just checked the questions, and I think there's Ayan Avinash who's here with us today, and he also asked the same question. So if you have any books that you'd like to recommend, Ayan is watching and listening for books that you'd like to recommend.
yeah,
Divyanshu, go for it.
I can recommend two books for sure. There's a book called Founder's Dilemma, which is very nice book that I think everybody should read. There's an also book called Innovator's Dilemma. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, I think something happened and we all just got disconnected. But okay, so
Okay.
Ayan is also asking the same question. If there are any books you'd like to recommend about entrepreneurship, Divyanshu, take it.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. I think Ashish was recommending a couple of books. In a way,
I think
No,
there's
I
some
mean, I can
internet
see all
issue.
of you. I can hear all of you.
good grammar as well.
Yeah, if I can speak, there are two books which I really loved it, and two books are one is Innovator's Dilemma, and there's other one called Founder's Dilemma.
Awesome.
And this is written by the experience of many innovators and founders. They talk about the journey and challenges that come along. It's based upon a lot of startups or the companies who have built
Yeah.
the
Let's hear what Divyanshu has to say. Unfortunately, we got cut off, but Divyanshu, go for it. Any books or any places you go to?
Sure, I think there's a bunch of places in terms of content when it comes to books, podcasts, even and those are like go-to places in terms of books. A bunch of books that you can go to for entrepreneurship. Right now, I'm reading No Rules by Netflix on culture. At Process, there's the Young and Strong Startup. There's the Green Startup. There's Zero to One. A bunch of startup books that you can like pick up, to understand. In terms of podcasts, I think Y Combinator is a great place in terms of content that you can pick up content. Essentially, what we learned in the 3 months of YC is there online. If you really want to go through YC, you can access it online on YouTube. Then there is I watch shows like the David Rubenstein show, which is pure entrepreneurial oriented. In terms of again, like in terms of content, mentors and peers are where we go to learn about entrepreneurship. I'd give Ratin a call and say that hey, I'm thinking about this marketing idea, Sambhav or Ashish a call. And you're learning about entrepreneurship every day. I think the customer every day, how even my mom is looking at accessing her phone and interacting with you, all understanding consumer psychology at every step. So you're learning on the go all the time. That's what
That's
entrepreneurship is all about. Over to you, Nathan.
That's awesome. Ratin, over to you.
Yeah. I think at after a certain point in time, all advice seems to be similar. Matlab, there is only so much advice out there. Everyone just says it in like different ways, and therefore I think that I genuinely believe that thoda advice and thodi books padne ke baad, you just go out there and try it for yourself. Because if you try things for yourself, is when you actually get to know, actually put things into perspective. If I were to recommend one book, I would say Elon Musk by Ashley Vance, simply because of the tenacity of that man as to
Divyanshu likes it.
goes on to achieve things, and and I think you can learn a lot about that by reading about some other entrepreneur. But my number one like thing would be like बहुत ज्ञान है यार, मतलब जाके बस शुरू करो, ज्ञान मिलता जाएगा types. Yeah.
Got it. Sambhav, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the best way to learn entrepreneurship is to actually do it. You can't. There's no course that can actually teach you entrepreneurship, because it's not something in theory, right? So no degree can teach you about it. But in case you're stuck somewhere, definitely the go-to person or the place would be someone who has actually done it, right? And in the journey of entrepreneurship, you'll face thousands of problems which are very different in nature. So for every other problem, you have to approach a different person, right? Someone, probably, if let's say we want to get a partnership in banking or in the business, we have to probably go
Mm.
to a B2C founder, but the nature can change of the problem, right? So yeah, I think doing it makes all the difference. In terms of books, I think uh, books cannot teach you entrepreneurship. It can just help you to change your mindset and like just motivate you, but until you do it, you won't actually know it.
Got it. Got it. All right. Awesome. Last question of of this particular section. Ashish, going out to you again. What did you have to unlearn after becoming an entrepreneur? And this question is from Jay Joshi.
Yeah, interesting question. What did I have to unlearn? One thing, if I can say, I have become very humble in last 4 years. I was maybe I was little ego. I had my own self ego because I had a lot of accomplishments in 9 years of my corporate life, and that made me the person with little ego of life. But then last 3-4 years of entrepreneurship life, where you have seen like more than 100 failures, on the decisions you have executed, and then so that makes you become much more humble, and like it hits you hard, where you need it. And so then you start to realize that yes, it's not always the things work the way you think or you believe. So you should be prepared also to take that feedback positively, and you know sort of learn from it, move on.
Got it.
So
I see the audience really liked your answer. They threw up a bunch of claps for that answer. So thanks for that. Divyanshu, share with us what are some things you had to unlearn?
Oof. I think I think because of my background in terms of while I was in college, I was also beginning out and working along with my dad and had a very traditional approach to business when it comes to that. And when I got into a startup, pre YC, I had brought in that traditional approach in terms of running that startup as well. But running a startup is extremely different than running a very traditional business.
Mm.
So that entire way of working and functioning is was a huge shift I had to make in my own personality. And it was one of the biggest thing that I had to unlearn and then relearn this new style of working in terms of the startup and understanding product market fit and having growth. And these are things like my dad says ki अरे ये क्या कर so that entire shift from an entrepreneurial mindset ki this is the way of working to this was the biggest thing that I think I had to unlearn and move forward with during my journey.
Awesome. Awesome. Ratin?
All right. So for me, the biggest thing I had to unlearn was that there's a compromise that you need to make. I always felt like I was the kind of child कि I always felt कि अगर मैं थोड़ा और इसमें effort डालूंगा तो I will be able to produce a better result. That is the case, yes. But you need to also consider at what times. So basically, there's always a compromise between how much time can you put into one project versus what is the effort, what is the output that you can deliver. Sometimes having the best output is not important. Putting it out in the shortest time, that is important. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है I was the kind of person who would take longer time but put out a near perfect product, and I've unlearned that, and I realized that's not the point. Put out any sort of crappy product, that's not important. Just put out something, get feedback, and improve on it. But what's important is that do it in the shortest time possible and do it in the sort of the cheapest time possible. So yeah.
You are like an efficiency ninja, man. Everything you talk about is like how to go get it. How do I do this fastest, quickest, bestest? Like, I'll have to come back for a separate session on like how to be as efficient as you or how to optimize processes. You seem to be very,
Learning,
very
learning from everyone.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Sambhav, tell us what you had to unlearn.
I think being a time founder, if someone is a second time founder, they have to unlearn a lot of things because the nature of every business or startup is different. Being a first time founder in itself, we are learning a lot of new things which we have no clue about.
Yes.
But definitely like unlearning ऐसा process है जो बहुत agile है, right? Like in every 2 months, as the team scales up, just for an example, we have to unlearn the old structure of things and bring in
Mm.
new structure into the organization, right? So we have to unlearn the old ways of taking meetings or like catching up, the update structure, or even to her point pe unlearning important hai. So when you actually learn a lot of things, you feel when you're talking कि सामने वाले को पूरा context है, right? So your skill to explain it in a way which a layman can understand gets lower and lower. So you have
Hmm.
to unlearn a lot of things. You have to keep in mind that the other person doesn't really know what you're talking about. So you have to unlearn all of it and talk it from a first person's perspective.
Got it. And since we're on the YC segment, I'm going to take an audience question from Karan Kishporia. He's asking, what is the typical day in the life of a YC comp day when you guys are there or when you guys are learning? Ashish, go for it.
Sorry, I was busy some seconds so that I could hear the question again.
Quite tip day or San Fran or wherever you're learning from.
It from it. You learn from, the gone, and you bring your problems to the, then you ask basically feedback, or you just want to still go ahead with what your gut feel says. So YC is very, it's not a school. It just basically, you meet, interact, and learn from the various different founders and, other previous entrepreneurs. That is all. YC is for entrepreneurs, by entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Divyanshu, share what it was like when you guys, I think you were with Ratin or Sambhav when you were in California. Tell us what your day in the life looks like.
I mean, like Kashish said, it's not a typical school. So you have the first couple of weeks where there's a bunch of boot camps and webinars that you essentially attend, where a lot of people talk about different parts in terms of the startup journey, in terms of growth, in terms of team, in terms of every particular process. That's a much more intensive part. And then the next 6 weeks, essentially, you're working on your business and like connecting with each other once a week, telling what's the progress of the business is essentially. And the last couple of 2 to 4 weeks is essentially dedicated to fundraising. So that's like the 3 months how it is packaged. A typical YC day is like a typical day that you see right here. You are essentially working on your business only, and figuring out and firefighting the daily problems of your business. For us, we were essentially pivoting the entire business model. So that was a very different story. But yeah, that kind of is how the YC typical day looks like. Then I think Ratin, you can go for it. I think she's
Yeah.
got it.
I think she lost her connection.
She'll be pseudo now.
Yeah, so I'll just go for it. Basically, YC में यार, there is no one typical day, to be honest. Every day of the week differs a little, but you can divide the entire thing into 4 categories. The first one is sessions, like speaker sessions, basically where we get a bit of gyan about what to do, how to do things like that. It's very good gyan, but like it's really actionable advice and all of those things. Second would be partner sessions, like partner with our particular mentors, basically one-on-one sessions with our mentors, where they drill down on our particular business, so to speak. Third would be networking sessions with other founders, ex-founders, so on and so forth. So we get to know a bit more about how they went about their businesses and so on and so forth. So that's the third part. And the fourth part is we have to work on our own businesses ourselves as well. So those are the 4 things that you are managing during YC, basically. Of course, they all 4 don't happen during the exact same time, but that's how the week is structured. Over to you, Sambhav.
I think there's nothing left to cover. But yeah, like it's no different. I agree to all of them. It's like any typical day of building your business. You're just completely into it, solving different problems, and it just gives you an opportunity and an exposure कि वहाँ पे बाकी दूसरे founders हैं, you have mentors, you have investors to speak to, so you get a really good perspective of different people. There's a faster feedback loop that you can have than any other regular day, right? So I think that networking makes all the difference. You are networking with a lot of people in that YC time. So yeah.
Yeah, Sambhav, it was a tough thing to cover after the question has been answered already thrice. What we can do is while you're waiting, we can possibly take a few questions
Yeah.
in the chat section itself.
From the chat, I think. Yeah, from the chat.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, guys, if you have questions, just keep putting it on the chat. Will I get recording? Will I get recording? Divyanshi, would you like to go first?
Huh?
How tough is an entrepreneur life? Ashish, over to you.
I have already replied to that question. It's just like very you can write it down 1 million times and then say tough. Like you go through multiple cycles of success and failures, because you are talking about executing hundreds of decisions, like within a month of
Let
time.
me
Especially
let
when
me
you're
rephrase, let me rephrase the question.
How
How tough is not the right thing. Like, what is the toughest part of being an entrepreneur?
Oh, that's a good question.
What is the toughest part about being an entrepreneur?
What is the toughest part? I think I covered it in my earlier talk. Like it hits you on your heart. It hits you hard. Where you like did it. Like you fail on your like decisions that you have executed, and you had a very strong conviction about it. It's very difficult to digest it. That ये कैसे हो सकता है? Like it's just not possible. And then you have this like multiple times, and that is toughest things, like you're being hit hard like so many times, and like on your convictions, that has not worked it out. It could be multiple reasons that has not, but
Of course.
that is how you learn. So that is the toughest part, to like accept it, like yes, this is the way it is, and then then it makes you more open and humble, and then start to become even more flexible and etc. So I think the toughest part in, yeah, in the sense you
Um,
get hit hard
yeah,
often.
Sambhavs are pseudo. Sambhav, over to me.
yeah, over to you.
Awesome. The toughest part, man, I think, especially right now in the stage that we are at, where we are scaling up very, very quickly. The team is moving extremely fast. Everything is so new. It's like driving a car in a dark tunnel with your headlights off, and you have no idea where you're going.
Whoa.
Because you have no clue where you're going. Essentially, you have a vision. You know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, but you
Yeah.
don't know have any clue about the process. In 2
You have
months,
to figure it out on the way
you have
while
a
you're
Yeah.
driving. You
vision,
think through it, right?
hoping that
It's
God
like,
does not hit the walls.
You don't know the pathway to it. You know that
yeah.
okay, this is what we want to get at, but
Yही
how
बात
do we get at it? There's no.
Yeah, yeah. Bro, I think someone said it nicely when they said entrepreneurship is more like you jumping off a cliff and then figuring out how to build a plane along the way. Like
Yeah,
it's that.
that's that.
similar. That's the
I think that like what I have felt is the toughest part of being an entrepreneur, apart from not being able to give the maximum time to your family, of course.
Oh yeah. Yes, of
Uh,
course.
I think is uh, letting things go. I think that's one of
Yeah.
the toughest parts. It can be just a feature in the product, or it can be a person in the team. But if something is not working out, you have to accept it and you have to let it go. It's tough. It's heartbreaking, but you have to uh, let it go. I think that has been most of the toughest part for me as an entrepreneur, right? Where I had to let things go, but
Yeah.
you have to do it.
For me, I think the toughest part was, I think in the sort of in the so far, fortunately, haven't had
no.
that to face in the current venture, but in the last venture when we had to sort of fire people because we were running out of sort of funds, or basically we're running out of runway. I mean, it's incredibly tough to tell people who have stood by you for so long and tell them that, hey, by the way, this might not work out and we might have to go our own ways and find something else to work on. I mean, that's incredibly difficult to do.
Definitely.
Genuinely hope that no one has to face that.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to sum it, you live a very highly uncertain life. So to say, the process is very uncertain. I mean, you know where you want to get to it. It's highly uncertain. How would you get it? You may have a conviction on that A process would work, a B process would work, but you would never know, whether that would actually happen. And,
There's
I think there's a good question from someone called Karan Kishore Pooja in the live chat. I think you can answer that. Like, can you share the story behind how you raised capital for the first time from friends and family or angels or VCs, etc.? How prepared were you? What was the experience like? Did you need to raise money, etc.? So it's sort of like your experience for your first time that you raised. Sir Ashish Gupta, you want to go first?
well, so how you raised money first time? Was that the question?
Yeah. So how did you like tell us about your story about the first time you raised capital, basically?
Yeah, so
In
well,
India.
so first time when we raised capital, it just came in itself, and when we were raising capital, it never came in, and this is how it happened. So we were raising capital for almost a year and a half. We have pitched to more than 50 VCs and investors all together, and it never came. Even after having term sheet and investor walking out. Okay, and then when we just decided to just wrap it up, investment came in. It just so yeah, that's what I'm saying. You live such a highly uncertain life that you never know what will happen. You think that a lot of things are in your control, but often they are not. So yeah, so fundraising is a process, or is a journey rather than a milestone that you achieve. So you just be on that journey, and if you get to raise money, then you just say that okay, that was a little stopover. You had it, and then you again continue journey on that journey. So fundraise, I would say, is a journey. So yeah.
Yeah, makes
ज्यादा
sense.
चटनी बना देते हैं तो डेस्टिनेशन मिस आउट हो जाएगा पर फंडरेज का but first time fundraise so I think YC was the first time we fundraised although we received a few investment offers before that we'd gotten an investment offer from a sheikh in Dubai who wanted like 40% of our company at that time. It was a very interesting time, and I mean, it's very different in terms of being a YC entrepreneur and raising capital, and being a non-YC entrepreneur and raising capital because we get significant advantage when it comes to raising capital on demo day. And the pitching style is extremely different. If we would have not gone that route, then we would possibly had a very different approach to fundraising altogether. Where again, pitching to VC funds, angel investors here, especially in the Indian market, much tougher job. We got a much easier access to fundraising capital. While being pre-product, especially a lot of us being on idea stage, and we were able to raise capital. So that was a very different journey for us.
Yeah. Just adding on
Yeah.
to it, guys, if anyone is looking to fundraise for their startup, I think one thing is for sure that you guys need to be prepared. And by that I mean you need to have answers to all the questions an investor might have, right? Because if they are pouring in millions of dollars into your company, they would want to know कि what's the plan ahead, right? तो वो 50 चीजें पूछेंगे from what are you building, how are you going to acquire users, where are you going to make business, who is the competition in the market, how big is the opportunity, what's the team size, how are you planning to expand, etc., right? So you have to keep answering questions until they are out of questions. That's the whole point. If you achieve that, I think that is will it doesn't matter how much you raise, but definitely if you do that, you'll be able to raise some money for your business. That's first. And the only part that stops it is getting on the call with a VC, right? So definitely trying to get on a call There can be multiple ways. Hit them on LinkedIn, try to find a referral, try to reach other founders who can make probably a referral or something like that. And once you get on a call, you'll get that half an hour, which is like a gold mine, right? You have to utilize it at best. So try to have all the answers to any questions.
I would like to
Yeah.
just add, our host is still trying to figure a way out to start her laptop and come back to this meeting. This is an entrepreneurship. Okay. She started this show, and right in the moment, she's hit hard and everything is down on her side. Okay. This is what happens in entrepreneurship journey. So be prepared
I
for it.
think some have really sort of summarized it well. Ki matlab, in terms of fundraise, try to have all the answers. And I also understand that, to be very honest, you're probably not going to have.
Ratan
Okay.
is our latest guy to back out, I think.
I think he was saying that you don't necessarily need to have all the answers.
I don't have all the
Uh,
answers, and my
and
friend.
yeah, it's so actually it's not for fundraising. Actually, you yourself or your startup need to have answers to all the questions like how are you actually going to build the product, the team, the business. So it's important for you, and for the things you don't have answers to, probably you need to experiment, you need to talk to other folks, you need to research and find answers to that.
Absolutely,
Well,
absolutely.
any other questions that we
Let's
can
say
take? Um, what was the lowest or difficult point in your startup pre-YC, and how did you overcome it? Like, let's change the
yeah,
routine.
so go first.
Divyanshu,
No, no, you
Divyanshu,
go first.
okay. Lowest and difficult point pre-YC. Pre-YC, we were not launched. We did not launch the product. We were still in college, right? So when you're talking about building a digital bank, sitting at your hostel room, as I spoke about it, right? Early stage founder के लिए conviction होना बहुत important है. You got a lot of things like कि क्या बात कर रहे हो तुम बैंक थोड़ी बना दोगे यहाँ हॉस्टल में बैठे बैठे. How are you going to do that? Like it sounds crazy at that time.
Yeah,
So one of the major challenges was actually staying convicted to the market while convincing others that it has opportunity. And second, I think, was actually navigating through the fintech space. This is particular to our business कि actually अगर हम ये करना चाहते हैं तो what are the licenses we would need, what are the kind of partnerships we would need, how to convince a bank, right, how do you launch a card. There are a lot of things that we needed to answer, and sitting at college we did not know how to start, right? So it was quite challenging to navigate through the whole fintech space, with so much regulations, and especially when we were building for minors. um, so yeah, that was the biggest challenge. After YC, it got smoothened up in a way. We had a network of people to
Oh
reach out
man,
to.
fintech regulations are such.
Ratan, you are lagging, bro. Big way.
Yeah, I realized that. I realized, man. I switched my network, so I hope
Yeah,
this
now
should improve. But let's see.
You're getting back. You're almost there. You're almost there.
almost there. I would, to all those who are watching, I would say thank you so much for staying all this while.
Are your
uh,
companies looking to hire? What are you looking for? Why should one apply to your company over the others on this
Yeah.
panel? Oh,
Okay.
intense.
a great marketing opportunity, guys, if you're looking to hire.
Opportunity. Yeah, I think I'll address the previous question.
That's a crazy.
Yeah, I'll address the previous question, which is one of the low points pre-YC. So we were, I think, 7 months into the business when we got 8 months into the business when we got through YC, 8 to 9 months, and about 4 months into it, we shifted our base from Calcutta to Bombay. Vanchika, um,
Hi, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
right. So yeah,
Hi.
I'll just complete my thought. 4 months into the business, we shifted our business like from Calcutta to Bombay, and
I don't think
we
she's
were
fully
like,
back yet.
no, she's back. She's back. It's you who's having a lag yet. So yeah, and then at that point of time, we were trying to figure out the entire business. We were trying to build product. All seven of us, seven bachelors living out of a home office, living the pure startup life. That was, I think, the lowest point essentially, because we had no clue. All of us new to the city, never lived outside, and trying to like scratch the surface of our financial capital. That was an incredibly like rewarding journey. और वो जो learnings वहाँ पे जो हुआ वो 3 महीने में आज तक I don't think इतना high learning curve रहा है मेरा. And then YC was a different story. Pre-YC, living out of a home office, working day and night on the business, and scaling that up was like the best time and also the lowest time in terms of the startup journey.
Vanshika, you are going to have so much fun watching the recording later.
Oh God. Oh
Happened once you left.
Oh my God, let's not even get there. Okay, let's do one thing since I know you guys had an informal networking break because I had a tech glitch and I'm so sorry about that. Let's quickly run through the rapid fire questions that are remaining and then we can go on to a full-fledged networking event. Because I think you guys already have picked up a couple of questions here and there. So a lot of people would have got a lot of their questions answered already, I hope. I'm going to watch this recording and see what happened when I was not there. I'm sure it'll be a good one. Thank you so much, guys, for managing it and kind of getting on with the show despite my absence. So, okay, cool. Let's get back into MRF kind of mode. I had a couple of questions for you about branding and online marketing. So let's switch the order since I missed it and I'm not sure what questions and how many questions got answered. We're going to switch the order. So we'll go Sambhav, Ratin, Divyanshu, Ashish. So Sambhav, question out to you first. What are the first 2 or 3 things that you did to build early awareness about your company when you were launching? And this question is from Abhinav Agarwal.
Okay. I think the first thing that you do is exploit your network, right? Whatever business you're in, you exploit your network. So let's say we wanted to get teenagers, we reached out to all of our friends. Like if you guys have any teenage siblings, cousins, like connect us to them. We like flooded all of our alum groups. Like if you're like the alums who were 1990 batch pass outs, right? We just hit them up like, do you have teenage kids? We connected to parents, kids, and try to exploit our network. And initially, like when you connect to 100 people, 10 of them likes your product. We try to connect to further 5 friends of them. So that is how we slowly expanded. That was one. Second thing that we did was we ourselves went to like the IIT hubs. We went to Kota. We went to the Fiji coaching classes in Delhi, right? And we just stood there and we are like, we are from IIT, and are you guys excited to chat with us for 10 minutes? And then they were like, yes, we would love to. So we did all those non-scalable things. So in the early stage of the business, you have to do non-scalable things and get your early customers and awareness.
Got it. Thank you. Ratin, what did you do to get early awareness into your startup?
We have
Facing network issues since you
I
left.
think Ratin's also having some network issue.
So
It's showing
as
it. No
non-scalable
signal.
yes,
Ratin, do you want to just try turning off your camera and then speaking because the network seems to be low on your end?
we've lost connection.
Oh no, we lost his connection completely. Oh no. Let's. Okay, till he's back, we can loop around with him. Divyanshu, do you want to take it?
Sure. I think when we were early, in terms of like Sambhav said, use your network, find people in terms of the network. We were essentially building in the early stages of Tag Mango. We were building an influencer marketplace, so connecting brands and influencers. So within the network, we reached out to all kind of relevant brands Then one interesting hack we did was we reached out to a lot of VC funds and angel investors saying that, hey, we want to work with your customer base. That was very early, and we got a lot of our brands coming in from there. Early days in terms of getting customer back then. Like we used to do a ton of events, like a ton of events. Every event I used to be there, pitching really hardcore. I even got my foot into the door at ET Startup Awards, which happens in Bangalore, and it's only an on-invite kind of an event. I I did a cold call and a cold pitch to the ET editor. Somehow got her number one day before the event and said that, "Ma'am, मैं ticket book कर दिया हूँ Mumbai से Bangalore का मैं आ रहा हूँ." So these are like some of the things that you do in early stage, which were kind of in terms of when I was selling B2B, to get the first few set of customers onboarded onto our platform.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting. Ashish?
Yeah, my take is like when you're starting something, you have to do it yourself. What I mean to say, when we launched my petrol pump, it was me along with the driver, and sometimes me and my co-founder we drove that delivery truck and served the customers.
Nice.
To get the real feedback from the customers in terms of the challenges that he is facing. And often in the early stage we had only two trucks, and we were getting huge demand from the generator customers, especially societies. And the driver was working only 12-hour shift. That is what we could afford. So from 12 hour 6 p.m. till midnight, me and my co-founder used to do all the deliveries driving those trucks even without having the commercial license. We were literally driving those trucks illegally, not having even license. We wanted to serve the customer, get that feedback directly to us, right there on the spot. So you have to do it. I mean, you have to take these risks, and to be able to build something meaningful. The second thing, we also did like a lot of hacks, in the sense we were hacking on the Bestcom website and Bestcom news, because when we got to know that okay, Whitefield mein electric power cut hone wala hai for next 12 hours because their grid is down, we knew there would be a lot of generator would run for 12 hours, their demand would come next morning. So we started hacking into like best cops activities to figure it out, demand kahan se aane wali hai. These are all non-scalable things in the early stage that you have to do to
Yeah.
understand, like Sambhav and Divyanshu were saying. So yeah, whatever it takes to get your
Whatever it takes.
like on the ground understanding of your customers behavior, the demand pattern, and that you can further build upon, like you
Totally.
said, to it.
Totally. Ratan, I'm just going to quickly repeat the question for you. So the question was, what are the first 2 or 3 things that you did to build initial awareness about your business?
Got it. Okay. Two things. First, figure out the place where you will find your customer group the most. Like if you're building a product for women, then find out Facebook women in workplace groups and then try and target there. So first, figure out where your customers are staying or where are they located, so you can. And then two, once you've located that, figure out a very hacky, interesting experiment to get them in the loop. For example, what we did was we literally created a spin wheel, and we said we just put up posters of monkeys all around the city when we started, with the caption saying that investing so easy, monkeys can do it. And people were so intrigued by it, and they would turn the spin wheel, and whatever result they would get, we would send them that via Spenny. So yeah, that's right.
Can I
Sounds
share a very
fun.
funny incident? I would just like to share.
Let's do that at the end because we are going to be running short of time. We'll do it at the end, okay? Cool. All right. Next question out to Sambhav again. Since you all have apps and a lot of times people share positive stuff, a lot of times people come back with hate stuff. So how do you deal with that as a business and as a brand? Like how do you kind of manage the not so good reviews or the customer feedback? Especially, when you know it affects your ratings and all of that on the App Store. So share some insights with us. That would be lovely.
That is a very, very relevant and interesting question. Especially when you're in fintech, even if your like 5 rupee transaction gets failed or blocked, there's so much of like the user will actually find my Instagram handle to reach out to me and be like, okay, my money is stuck. Like
Oh
they go to
God.
support, they go to our Instagram, our Twitter, then they'll post it about it publicly and everything. So we really care about it like crazy, and we try to directly call up the user. It's definitely not scalable, but we you won't believe, like 50 to 60% of our 1 star ratings have been converted to 5 star. We are
Wow.
very much focused upon that. We actually and kudos to the team. Shifa in our team takes really amazing care of this, and yeah, you have to deal with that. We always maintain uh, our brand tonality and the kind of language we want to convey into, and yeah,
Got
that's
it. Got it. Ratan?
I had someone send me a mail saying that we are going to file a police complaint because we set a e-mandate and we debited 2 rupees to for the investment, and I
Wow.
literally got a mail for that. And that's when you realize it's like the customer's frustrations. Everyone is just like frustrated in life in general. That's like life, and then everyone's like going to come and put all their frustrations on you. The best way to do it is that pick up the phone, talk to them, and then understand. All right, buddy, I listen. I understand your problem. Let me walk you through it, and here's how we can fix this. If you
Hmm.
show them intent that you're willing to improve and that you're trying your best, they will definitely understand that. And of course, you have to back it up with genuine work around that as well. You can't just speak and not do anything. But yeah, I think that would be my
Got
say.
it. Very interesting. Divyanshu?
Yeah, I think what these guys have said is pretty much on point. This is what we also do is if you've gotten a bad review, you would pick up the phone, give them a call. Non-scalable, but that's essentially working at this point of time. And just try and understand what the problem statement essentially is. Try and empathize with the problem statement, and then try and solve for it. If we do have a solution, then try and solve for it real time. If we don't have a solution, try and tell them that we will find a solution for your problem, at least down in the next 3 to 6 months. So I think that's the only answer in terms of how do we manage all these bad reviews or hate coming towards the company essentially. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Ashish, what do you do?
Yeah, so we take it like utmost positivity because we believe, if somebody has taken time to write that bad review, that person is emotionally connected with this. He had a high expectation. If some people have high expectations from somebody who really they care about or they love about, people don't keep high expectation from some strangers. Yeah, so it means these people really care about taking your service, using your product. That is why they were disappointed and they wrote it. Yeah, so you take it with utmost positivity and work upon whatever it takes, whether it's a scalable or a solution or non-scalable, whatever it takes to address that as soon as possible is what you should do. And like I was like trying to share that funny incident earlier quickly is like sometimes when me and my co-founder drove the truck to deliver, and then when customer was there, he started asking questions and he answered question in English. He was like, why is company के driver तो English में ही बात करते हैं अभी because they did not know we were founders who were driving the trucks, So
Yeah.
they were like so nice, very nice drivers and very nice training and everything, and we could answer all their question with utmost humbleness and everything. They felt so good, and उसके बाद फिर 5 स्टार के 3-4 और रिव्यू आ गए उनके.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Last two questions, and then we're going to move on to actual proper networking where you can go and meet with all of these really cool people we have here. So the second last question of this session, how should an early stage startup founder think about the ROI of content marketing with limited in-house resources? And this question was asked by Ravi Teja Konde. Sambhav, go first.
Yeah. Very interesting. I think it's completely on the founder's vision. This is a very subjective question. And it depends on the business as well, right? There's no right or wrong answer to this. So we as a brand, we were very sure that we want our brand to be more of a lifestyle brand, not a fintech brand. So content marketing was a really crucial wheel for us. So we invested a lot of time in putting out content on our Instagram, on our YouTube, and everywhere, which was more relevant for the Gen Z, for the teenagers. And if you look at the answer to that, you'll get it on our Instagram page. If you check out like fanpay.in, it has super high engagement. Like if you look at any brand's page, it does not get 20-25% engagement on every post that they do. But we've been able to build that emotional connect through content. So content marketing really helps in that, and it depends on the founder and the company.
Got it. Ratin?
Hey, first of all, kudos to FamPay on 25% engagement, man. That's mad. That's insane.
That's crazy, yeah.
All right, coming to the answer. All right, it's step one. Define what is your goal. Is it long term or short term? If because you're speaking of ROI, तो ROI के लिए सबसे पहले तो ये define करो कि what is the time frame that we are looking at. Step two, what are the metrics? Are you going for followers? Are you going for customers? Are you going for top of the funnel like leads, etc. जो क्या चाहिए तुम्हें, and then accordingly build the strategy combining step one and step two. So I guess that's how you can come to your answer of, for most people, content marketing is generally a long-term play. So, so you can't expect it to have like sudden short-term gains to nahi milne wale isme se. But yeah, I mean, if you define your first and two, then first and second, then I think you'll have a better answer.
Got it. Divyanshu?
Yeah, pretty much on point what these guys shared in terms of objective setting. What you want your content to come out of. For example, what we use our content largely is for community building. In terms of that, to build that community of creators, so also to educate creators in terms of what the product looks like, and along with that, give them some kind of insight with respect to some funny piece of content or some like entertainment piece of content which is purely relatable to the creator ecosystem. So it's about building that relationship for us. This is how we are using our social and different pieces of content, and from time to time we try and like try out some viral stuff that kind of gets picked up very much, and that essentially helps us to grow a lot of base in terms of creators. But again, the focus is primarily community building for us with respect to the content that we're pushing out. And it's a long-term play, and I'm thinking of it as 2 years play, essentially in terms of when it's built out and we've got a massive distribution on social, and that is what we are using to drive conversation and engagement for the platform.
Got it. Ashish?
Yeah, pretty much summed it up, I think, by these guys. So nothing much to add. I mean, if you are using a content marketing, I would say, I mean, think about any possible content that could make things go viral. I mean, that is what I look at. I always spend a lot of time thinking about all crazy ideas that without spending a penny make things viral. And yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Last question out to Sambhav, and then we can jump into networking. So I obviously am on LinkedIn a lot, and I see everybody preaching this thing. Every company should be a media company in their domain. You should be the mouthpiece for your industry. What are the struggles of actually doing that? Because it's very hard to scale content and do it well. So can you share some struggles that maybe you face personally at FamPay with kind of scaling up the content engine?
Scaling up the content engine. If I have to think of the challenges, I think it has to be given a lot of time, right? It's not something that is done overnight. So if you actually want to build engagement, let's say it's like a transformation from, if you want to get from fat to fit, it's a journey, right? You can't expect results on day one. So you have to be consistent, and that sometimes becomes challenging, that you always have to create content that is engaging, that is relatable to that audience that they want to read, right? And it's a full-time job. It's nothing like, okay, on the sidelines you can just create content once a week and that's someone actually needs to do the research, needs to spend some time and maintain that tonality in all forms of content that's going out. And for us, like, as the challenge is that we are focusing on teenagers and their parents, and both have very different expectations.
Yeah, totally.
Right? So the content that the parents need is something that is serious, that builds trust, while the teenagers need something funky, something cool, which is meme-ish, right? so it's completely two different worlds, and maintaining that is definitely a challenge. But yeah, I think we are doing a good job there.
That's awesome. Ratin?
So if you want to, if you're looking for how to scale content marketing as a strategy for a company, I think the best thing to do is to not focus on all platforms simultaneously. Figure out your platform, as in where your customers are going to be, and then deliver that kind of content, what would be value adding for them? For example, for the Divyanshu, it makes more sense if he's focused on Instagram, which he's doing nicely, because most of the content creators, so to speak, are on Instagram, let's say. For us, our strategy seems to be working well for Twitter so far, because our early users are people who are on Twitter, and that's the kind of user demographic. So I guess the first thing is to figure out कि आप लोग जिसको टारगेट कर रहे हो वो किधर है, और वो जहाँ पे भी है उनको कैसा टाइप का कंटेंट वो लोग ऑलरेडी कैसा कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं. Can you add a value to that? If you can do that, then that's your game basically.
Got it. Very well explained. Divyanshu?
Yeah, I think that's great. I think both of them have really summed it up very well. I have been a content child for the last, I think, 2.5 years, doing content on different social channels. Biggest challenge is consistency. I mean, consistently having that thought process and that pushing that piece of content, that's the biggest challenge out there. Making sure, and relatability trends also keep changing from time to time. So making sure that you're on point with the trend and not missing out on it, not a little late also. It's a full-time job. It's a full-time job, but it's an incredible amount of fun. I think every company should essentially build their brand very, very strongly. It's a full-time media company. Every company has to build it in today's world. And yeah, I think if you focus on I really like a few companies that do incredibly well. One of the YC companies, which is Grow does tremendous content marketing. And at the bottom line is that you need to provide value to your customer and not sell to your customer. So you don't if it is Tag Mango, I should not be saying that, hey, please come use my product Tag Mango. I should say, hey, these are 5 ways you can grow your YouTube channel. And at the end, maybe also we do this little thing called Tag Mango. Why don't you check us out? If you find it interesting, you can do it, or that's fine as well. We will still keep providing value to your life through the content that we are pushing. So that should be strategy number one, and no selling in terms of content through your social.
Got it. Very true.
This is gold, guys. This is gold.
Very well.
This is very, very good actionable advice.
Yeah.
Ashish?
Well, so it's nice to be at the 4th place, because pretty much is again summed up by these experts. So nothing much to add. I mean, one thing I can say from my experience is what I focused upon is how users. I mean, first thing, how much time the users have to go through your content. And we talk about first impression or first sight and everything. It's like somebody may have only in our case, for example, when we were doing this marketing campaign and putting posters behind the buses, these government buses, and we knew we had to think about from what distance that users are going to look at this, or how much time a person has to look at this poster while he's driving a car, maybe just 2 seconds. Then what do you want to show in 2 seconds, and how big the font should be and how catchy, whatever it is. So think from users perspective as to where they are placed, in which situation they are, their mental state, their emotional state, lot of things, and what time also they come to get to see that content, whether middle of the daytime or evening or morning. I mean, think all these possible variables that would help you to design also your content so that it's very effective.
Got it. All right. Awesome. Quite an eventful marketing rapid fire with a huge technical glitch in the middle, but I will definitely watch the episode again to see what happened when I was missing in action. That being said, thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you so much for gracing our show with your presence. I hope the audience has learned a lot. Quick notes for the audience. I have put in a WhatsApp group link on the chat. Do definitely join in. Everybody who attends events joins in if they feel like. So it's a nice tight-knit community of people that enjoy talking about marketing. That being said, I will also send out the recording after the show, and once it's up on YouTube, and do definitely take a look at it in case you missed certain parts of it. Once again, thanks for spending a Saturday with us, and hope you have a lovely weekend ahead. Take care.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.